Alright folks, today we are talking about our case Farmall 105A. This is a 250 hour review. If you saw our previous video, I did a review at about 50 hours. We've done quite a bit more work with it now. So I want to kind of give a follow-up of my thoughts a little bit farther on in the process owning this thing. So we bought this, what was it, April I think we bought it. We paid $75,000 for it. We do have a loader for it, the third function control. I just got it off because I had to do a couple days worth of work of stuff just pulling behind. So I popped it off to make life a little bit easier. But yeah, so far, general impression. It's been a good tractor. Relative, I got this park where we rent some ground. Our landlord's 90C is kind of the standard that I hold this tractor to. I've got quite a few hours in that machine, and certainly the 90C or the C series cabs are far better than these A series. You know, this is sold as a economy tractor. It does have some nice features, like it's got a air ride seat directly from the factory. It's got a pretty nice cab, all things considered. It's nothing to write home about, but definitely does the job. It's got a very similar engine transmission combo to the comparable C series. This has got a slightly different emission systems on the engine. I don't know if the engine's exactly the same. The transmission is internally, I think, the same, but the casing itself is a little bit different. Like on the 90C, there's a pan that you can pull off underneath the four-wheel drive assembly for service. To look up in there, this machine doesn't have that. It's just generally a simpler machine. I think they copied a lot of stuff from their other tractors to get this at a point that it was pretty price comparable, or that it was a good price for what they were charging. So, good, the bad, the ugly. I know the thing that I dislike the most about this machine, of every consideration, is sort of the operator position. You'll see in there I got this gel pad seat, and that made a world of difference for me. I was really hating this seat and kind of the position of everything before I stuck this in here, and that made a world of difference. The problem for me, I'm 6'2". This seat doesn't go up high enough for me to be at a comfortable position where my knees are not, jammed up. I like to be in a very upright position when I'm in the tractor. And if the seat was up far enough that I was comfortable sitting in it, I was hitting the hard stop at the top of the range for the air ride seat. And it was driving me nuts. It was really uncomfortable. The foam seat got me up just high enough that's mostly fixed the problem. I'm still debating unbolting the seat platform and putting some spacers underneath of it to get the whole thing up a little bit higher. I think that would help my comfort quite a bit. Another thing I really don't like, I mentioned this in my first review, the cup holder down here blocks the only 12-volt power that you can see down there. I am going to move this socket. I just haven't had time. I'm going to either put it up here or somewhere down here, and maybe duplicate it and add the 3-prong style 12-volt power, because you see I got a bell moisture meter in here. We do run some electronics, but to move that would make a big difference. It's annoying. I have one of these adapters. My wife got it for me at Target, I think, for holding like a big bottle. That works great for the Nalgene. It's where I stick it when I'm running the tractor. That is the only cup holder in this machine. So I jumped online and I ordered one of these ram mount swivel cup holders. which with the appropriate clamp works great on these bars. It's a little tight because that kind of sort of blocks my PTO control. I did have it over on this side for a while, but every time you slammed the door, the drink was flopping around. I actually keep this door locked from the outside. I don't use this door. I even took off the stair. So this side has been a good spot for it. I'm going to move some of this stuff around, I think, at some point, because I would like to have farther forward, but that's not a critique of the tractor. That's a critique of the bracket that I made to fit in here. But yeah, the cup holder thing is sort of a limitation. If you're buying one of these, just assume you're going to have to buy a secondary cup holder. And if you need cab electronics, you're going to have to dink around with this. There is 12-volt power outside of the cab. There is a plug right there. So that's how I've got everything wired up right now, but it would be nice to just have some regular power in the cab. It does have trailer brake lights and all that stuff back there as well, which is nice. That comes on there. Operator comfort, you know, it does. The 90C that's parked over there has got parking brake integrated into the range. This one's got a pull cord parking brake. I prefer this when I'm hooking up equipment. I prefer the parking brake integrated in this for just day-to-day use, because it's really easy to forget that the parking brake is on. It's sort of what you're doing with it. If you're hooking up equipment and you're not at dead level, this is better. But if you just use a loader around your farm, I think it's actually nicer to have it on this. Transmission works pretty good. I did have to adjust the clutch lever because the throw was off. There's a bunch of all the cable linkages down underneath the cab on this side, and you kind of wiggle down in there and you can adjust them. And I adjusted the shifter and the clutch pedal, and she shifts pretty good when she's going. I don't like the position of the loader control. For me, where I'm comfortable when I'm sitting in here, it's really far forward. It's like a stretch to lean forward to grab it. The 90C, the cab is set up a little bit different. The loader control is like right here, and the shifter is up here. That would have been much nicer. I think at some point I am going to try and do something about this, because we do a lot of loader work with this tractor and it bothers me. I don't know what exactly I'm going to do, but I'm kind of debating making a different handle that extends and comes up here or something, maybe be a little bit more comfortable. I've also added a phone mount, which works pretty well. Let me just keep my phone charger in here all the time. That was a good addition. The center console, it's not great. Something I will say about the center console, it's related to the air conditioning. This has got like a head unit style air conditioning instead of the console mounted one. I love head mounted so much more than the console mounted. The console mounted, my legs are always freezing, and the rest of me is just hot and sweaty. These ones, I can actually get them blowing in my face. It's just much more comfortable. And I also think that doing snow removal in the winter, these head unit style ones are going to work a lot better, because I can actually get good airflow to the back window and the front window. There's these vents that blow right on the window here. On the center console style in the C series, the windows just fog up and ice up really easy. Yeah, the buttons, they all work. They all do what they're supposed to. I seem like I'm always bumping the rear wiper one when I'm working back here, but the lights, they're pretty so-so. Really, we don't do a ton of night farming at the moment, but I do think that's gonna be an upgrade we make. The 90C over there, it's got the same problem. It's just not great lights. So it's just a cheap tractor problem. Let's see what else. Oh, buddy seat. Buddy seat's pretty useless. We're gonna rip it out of here at some point and kind of make something different. It's not comfortable to sit in, clearly, and it makes the cab feel much more crowded than it actually is, because you kind of lose all of this space in this corner. So at some point here, when I got a minute and just looking for something to do, I'm going to yank this out and I think probably make a cup holder tray or something to go up in there instead, because that would be much more usable, or a tray or something for all this like loose stuff, because these trays are really shallow and stuff's always bumping out of them. But yeah, cab, you know, it's an economy cab. It totally works for its function. I said this in my previous review. If I knew that this was going to be like our forever tractor, and we were going to run it, you know, till the day that it dies, which likely we will run this tractor till the day that it dies, but this is our first tractor. It's not going to be our last tractor. We're going to buy more. But if it was just going to be our only tractor and our last tractor, I would have gone with like a C-Series cab. Probably not as bougie as like a U-Series cab with these Farmalls, but the C-Series is definitely a better cab position. We'll talk about the engine and transmission here. Transmission's just the bog standard 3 ranges, 4 gears. They're not amazing transmissions if you're doing stuff like pulling a baler, because it's hard to change your speed, go faster and slower. But they are quite reliable. They hold in quite a bit of power. They don't tend to have many issues. This one, yeah, it just seems to work. I think we do maybe have an issue with the hydraulic pump, but that's not related to the transmission so much. And this tractor has not been back into the dealer for a check over, nut and bolt check, since we got it. So at some point I'll send it back over to them and just have them look over it, make sure everything looks good. It's got plenty of power to pull our baler. It's a New Holland BR740. We also pull a New Holland 499 hay-bind behind this machine. Both of it does pretty well. We got this baler rigged up with preservative. We found an organic OMRI approved preservative that we can run this year, which is really nice. We do have this set out on wide stance, specifically for doing hay work. It is kind of annoying because it would be nice to do, I do some cultivation for a neighbor, and it would be nice to be able to use this machine for that, but with the wide stance we can't do that. But it makes it much more comfortable for doing hay work. She generally doesn't leak, other than we get a little bit of a leak going on here for the hydraulic valves. I checked to make sure that was tight a while ago and it seemed like it was tight, but that'll be a dealer thing to look over, because this is obviously still under warranty, with only, it's got 350 hours on it. She had 100 hours on it when we bought it. It was sold as a new unit. Let me set you down here and I'll pop open the hood so you can see that. quite a bit easier to get into the engine compartment without the loader on. When you got the loader on, it gets pretty crowded. So the front of the engine is right here. It sits in this tiny little space. It's just a little 4-cylinder. I'm not going to pull the covers off, but the fuel and oil filters are tucked up underneath here. The primary hydraulic filter is down there. The screen's on the other side. So when you got to do service, it's pretty easy. You can just pop this cover off. You can get to everything. Climb underneath to get the hydraulic filter. This tractor does come. There's a slide out screen on the radiator here, which is nice. I don't know why some machines still ship without that. A lot of this stuff up front here is also, there's these little clips. You can slide things out of the way. If you got to clean out your radiators, your coolers, all that stuff. There we go. Yeah, she's got kind of all the standard oil coolers and AC compressor. This is a turbocharged engine, so it's got an air-to-air intercooler, big old radiator. This thing will pull pretty hard, and I have never seen it get anything more than warm. Oil fill cap is over on that side. Generally quite serviceable. I haven't had any complaints about needing to get in and clean things out or anything like that. My big gripe is I do not like these cartridge style air filters. I know a number of folks have moved to these, and they work. They're good air filters. They keep your air clean, but the problem is you can't knock dust out of them, and you can't really tell when they're starting to gum up. So I noticed when I was baling yesterday, tractor just kind of felt like it was a little down on power, and popped this off and looked in there, and you can see all these little honeycombs are starting to fill up with dust pretty bad. You can try knocking the dust out of these things, but it doesn't seem to do much, so I gotta go get a new air filter for it. 250 hours on an air filter is not bad. So it's not the end of the world, but it's kind of one of those things like on other tractors, it's easy. Every 50 hours or so, you know, pop the air filter off, check it, knock the dust out of it. And at least you got a better idea of when the air filter needs to be replaced. So it's kind of a so-so feature that I don't love so far on this machine. But it's an economy tractor. It's not gonna be perfect. So far, haven't had any emissions or DEF issues. The DEF injector is right up there, so for some reason you got to get to it. It's pretty accessible. I know the 90C that's parked over there, it has a chronic DEF issue. This tractor we're hoping seems like doesn't have the same problem. I talked to the dealer quite a bit when we were thinking about buying it, kind of gauging if we were going to have emissions issues with this tractor, because it seems like these smaller tractors, I wouldn't say have a lot of issues, but they represent the majority of issues that our local dealership deals with emissions. And I don't know if the systems are just getting better, but you know, so far we haven't had any issues with this tractor. Fingers crossed it stays that way. We don't idle it a ton in the summer, but you know, in the wintertime when it's feeding cows, it does get idled quite a bit because we fire it up, get the cab nice and warm. So yeah, I don't know. We do heavy work with this machine. It pulled a 22-foot field cultivator this spring just fine. And you know, I was really impressed with what it was able to do. There hasn't been any like situations where I felt like it was underpowered. It's got, I think, 112 engine horsepower and then maybe 90 or 86 or something PTO horsepower. So it's a pretty good size for us. I think our next machine is going to be, you know, bigger, at least 150 engine horsepower, maybe even bigger and a bigger frame size. But for us, this was a steal of a deal. We didn't want to buy new. I wanted to buy a used 100C or the New Holland T4 100, something like that. That had the bit of the nicer cab, you know, maybe had 2,000 hours on it or something. But back in April, and we'd actually been looking for quite a while, but in April when we knew we needed to buy something, I just couldn't find anything. And our local case had a financing option. It was 0% for 60 months or 2.5% for 72 months for in-stock machines. They had a 95, a 105, and a 115 in stock. Price for horsepower, the 105 was like the best option. So we pulled the trigger. We took the dealer financing. It is nice having a machine that's under warranty. If something comes up, the dealership's just a couple miles down the road, we can just go dump it with them and they'll figure it out. And I got a pretty good relationship with the tech that does most of the work on these kind of smaller tractors, and I buy all our plastic and stuff at the parts counter at the dealership, so I'm in there pretty regularly. And like all the folks that I work with, they're mom and pop employee owned employee-owned operation. They just got a couple locations, big enough to be able to get access to parts, but not so big that they're just kind of a nameless conglomerate blob. But yeah, would I buy it again? Yes. I think long-term, this tractor is going to be good for us because, you know, when we do eventually upgrade and get a second tractor, we'll get something bigger. This will become the rake tractor. This will become the feed and cows tractor. You know, the one that we don't worry so much about keeping nice and clean. It just needs to do its job and keep plugging away, and it's big enough that it would be a good backup. So if, you know, other tractor goes down and it's got to run a hay bind or disc bind or something, it can jump in and do it. So yeah, price, $1 for horsepower. Cab comfort is important, but when you just need to do work, when you're buying a tool for your job, this is a pretty good place to start, especially if you have some sort of dealer financing options. I don't know if Case is still running that deal that they were running, but if they were, I would say go grab yourself one of these if you can find one. Yeah, and it's the right color. Helps. Makes a big difference. So, thanks for watching. If you got any questions, comments, anything like that, throw them down in the comment section, and I will try and answer them as best I can. And go watch our other review if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching.